Hey everybody, this is Dominic, and in this video I'm going to share an activity that I developed utilizing Google Slides to simulate an activity that I've done in face-to-face classes, and that is the corners activity. This is something that many instructors have done before in different adaptations. The basic idea is that if you're in a face-to-face classroom, you have different corners of the room represent different points of view or different levels on a scale. And you ask the students to get out of their seats and move to the corner of the room that they agree with or that they feel is the correct answer. And then they have to justify it. They talk about why. Why are they over there? And it's a great activity to spur some discussion in class. When you're doing an online class, it might feel like that's a difficult thing to do. I mean, you can do it with a discussion board, but there's something about that element of being able to get out of your seat and move to a corner, that visual element of seeing where everyone is at. That's kind of nice, and you lose that if you do it in a discussion board. So how can we have that same experience in an online setting? Well, Google Slides actually accommodates us in this regard, and I'll show you how. So this is a template of an activity that I put together in Google Slides. It's called Google Slide Corners. And the basic idea is you'll see here in slide 2, I have an example of what this looks like. So I created a grid using Google Drawings, and I colored it accordingly and labeled it A, B, C, D. And what I did was, once I finished that image, I downloaded the image as a PNG. And then I went into the background setting for my Google Slide, and I chose an image, and I actually uploaded that image of that PNG to the background of my slide. Now, the reason I did that is that now my background has the grid, the quadrants on it, but I can't actually manipulate them. Like, I can't accidentally move that letter A around because it's part of the background image. Then what I did was I created these individual markers with my students' names on them. And what I did was I give my students a thinking prompt in which they had to choose one of 4 sides. And I assign those sides a letter, A, B, C, or D. And so then I create a shareable link to my slideshow. If I'm sharing it in a class, I would make sure that my students have edit access to the slideshow. And I'll say, all right, I want you to go into the slideshow. I want you to find your marker. And then I want you to place your marker on the side that you agree with. So, for example, maybe Joel feels that letter C is the side that he agrees with, so he grabs his marker and moves it over there to letter C. Now, that's just step 1 in the activity. Step 2 is then Joel's going to justify why he chose that spot. And to do that, we're going to use commenting. So Joel will be able to click on his marker there, and then go up here, click on the Add Comment button, and then Joel can type in a comment and explain why he chose to put his marker on C. Now, if I'm having a bunch of students do this, of course the comments area is going to get pretty crowded pretty quickly. So it's important to establish some parameters. And actually, this is a good thing. It forces students to be concise with explaining their ideas and their rationale. So I might tell my students, okay, in 2 to 3 sentences, I want you to explain why you chose to put your marker there. And then from there, we can do all manner of follow-up activities. If I was teaching a hybrid class, I would definitely do this as an outside of class activity. And then when students come into class, I put the slideshow up on the big screen for us to talk about. So that would be a great way to use this activity. If it's purely an online class, I might go from here into a longer end discussion, or maybe the students then give some long answer description of what they observed from their class. You could take it a number of different ways. So it's not always going to be the case that you can simulate a face-to-face activity in an online context, but hopefully this activity here gave you some ideas of how you could do the corners activity virtually. So I'm going to share out this template that I've made. You'll see in slide 3, I actually have a template that's ready to go. You can type in your thinking prompt up here. You can fill in the names on these markers. And one more thing that I'll mention is that you can put the students' names on these markers like we just talked about, but you might also put maybe the names of different topics or ideas on these markers, and then the students have to categorize those topics or ideas through the corners. You could accomplish the same thing with a Venn diagram. Instead of making quadrants, a quadrant background like I've made here, I could have made a Venn diagram background and labeled it accordingly, and then students could go in and manipulate that. So a lot of possibilities with utilizing Google Slides, a application that obviously is for presentations, but who would have thought there's so many other interactive ways that you can utilize it. So hopefully this gave you some ideas. Thank you for watching.